sexy. Hey, my apologies. I've been kind of quiet lately on the video output, other than the live stream we did the other night. Had a great big change of focus here. I had GCACW Battle Above the Clouds set up on the table. I had a scenario from, what is it here? The Baltic Gap. And I think I chose the wrong scenario in Baltic Gap because it was not grabbing me. So I watched a couple of content creators online. One particular that's I haven't seen anything from him. I probably need to look a little closer at his channel, but he did some great OCS playthroughs, and that was Michael Spearling. And I need to look back at his channel because he really did some nice playthroughs. And it's funny because you got to watch him play, I think, 2 or 3 OCS games from just learning how to play to by the time he got to his third one, he was pretty efficient with the system. And I figure I've got about 90% of the system down. Let's go ahead and master this because the best statement I can say about this is I think OCS covers supply better than any World War II operational game out there. I mean, you can't just have complete broad front attacks going on. You've got to decide where and when, and then you need to focus the supply in that area, maybe even focus the air in that area. And I'm starting to learn really good use of the air power or air units in this game, the transports, tactical bombers, your fighters, things like that. Much with strategic bomber jet, transport pretty handy with that. Getting a little more use, as you can see here, with strategic movement and how to stack or not stack units, where to put units on the defense, where to put units or where to attack enemy units, what kind of terrain they're in, and how to make that best effective. As far as strategy goes, Tunisia is what I'm playing here, Tunisia II, and what a nightmare for terrain. So, not really sure. I mean, I've made what I thought was a really couple of nice attacks that I set up for the Allies, but I'm playing both sides to the best of my ability, and I put the German or the Axis units in the right locations, and some of the attacks that just got shunned. Well, here's a prime example. I think it was one of these 2 attacks here. It had a 7-1. They're sitting in hills, okay? So no multipliers. Everybody was at a 1. And rolled for surprise, which I think this is one of the greatest rules in any series of game. And I don't know any other ones that have it. But rolled for surprise, the defender won surprise and then rolled a 5. So a 7-1 in close terrain came down to very much in the defender's favor. And sure enough, this armored unit, which was DG'd and a 2-strength garrison type unit was in there with him, caused a step loss to these 2 stacks and sent them running. Over here, same thing. No surprise, but the die roll was terrible and it sent this stack back. No step loss, just sent them retreating, and they held their ground. So this unit here that's beside him, he was not part of the attack. But let me tell you how I'm playing this time. So I've got the 4.3 rules, and I had the nice little cheat sheet for sequence of play, which is great. The OCS turn summary, which I think I got from either OCS Depot or from Board Game Geek. But I'm taking the sequence of play in the rule book. In every phase of every turn, regardless of how many times I've read the sequence of play, I'm reading each phase again every time I execute that phase, regardless of how many times I've played that phase. And maybe I come across a subtle rule that I'm missing, like reaction move. Don't ask me why, but for some reason I never applied reaction move to the non-phasing player's air units being able to do anything. And that is a complete miss because they can stunt attacks with that aircraft coming in there. So now I'm more conscientious about doing my best to keep active air units ready. Patrol zone. I knew what patrol zone was. Did I use it in previous games? Sure. But not to the ability I'm using it here. So most of these Germans or Axis units that were out forward. Well, not this guy here. He had more than 10. But when they were sitting back here, and this guy's sitting here, I realized that my Italians on this air base, they were so weak, I wasn't even trying to refit them. But I flew a couple German units up in here, a couple of fighters. So now the Allies, and here's I'm going to give you a prime example of this. Now, it wasn't this stack here. Let's go down yonder here. So down here, I flew these 109s down here a couple turns ago, knowing that somewhere along the line there was going to be an attack. Well, there was, and I got these aircraft out there, and they were able to, oh no, I'm sorry. I flew some aircraft in from these Allied air bases way back there. I flew 2 fighters and a tactical bomber into an attack that was going to happen right here. Probably didn't need to, but it was only going to be like a 3-to-1 attack right in this area here. You see the German unit, the Axis unit is gone. But this guy here by himself thwarted all of that aircraft coming in because he won every round of combat. And he damaged a fighter group. He damaged P-38s. He damaged a tactical bomb group, a fighter group, and the other one just got aborted. And he never suffered any negative result in that. So those 109s did their job. These 109s up here, they didn't have to worry about it because the Allies, you got to do fighter sweeps. So the Allies over here in Bone, whatever, we'll call it Bone, in the Gulf de Bone, there was a 5-1 Spitfire here, there's a 5-1 Spitfire there, and you got to try to get rid of these 109s. Well, those Spitfires match up at 5-to-1 to the 109s that are also at 5-to-1, 5-and-1. So the difference is that these guys were flying more than half their range to engage these fighters. Well, there's no anti-aircraft during fighter sweeps. All right? It's airplane against airplane, mano a mano. And the German fighters here and the German fighters in Bizerte, they both won. So if they win and there's no negative result, they stay active at their airbase. Okay. Also, something that I had missed is if an air unit flies, if a fighter flies, it's either 10 hexes or less than half of their range in movement to a new airbase, they remain active. It's one or the other. I've only had to execute it once, but I remember reading the rule about it. I need to check it again because I've only had to do it once. So that's a plus. Another thing that I'm learning that I have not done yet in this game is the Allies need to get an airbase built a little more forward, okay? They've got one back here, but they need to get one built up here somewhere to get within that patrol, so they can get something in a patrol zone range to help their forward units. And you've got to have a combat, or you've got to have an engineer or an engineer capable headquarters. So I don't know if there's an engineer unit in the Allied counter mix right now for combat units, but they do now have this headquarters. So maybe it's possible I can get an airfield built up there because they need it. They need somebody within 10 hexes of that front line so they can provide, reactionary support or patrol zone for those guys. Because the 109s, the Stukas, they're just, the Stukas especially, their bomb rating of 12 or bomb strength of 12, barrage strength of 12 and they don't have that many. I think they got 1 or 2, but those things they're violent, and I need to have something to control them. So, the Spitfires are a good plane, but when you fly more than half and you get that -1 on your die roll modifier, that can really sting a lot. So we need to get some of those forward. Not to mention that they have a lot more fighter aircraft, I think, on the table than the Germans do. The Germans just, I don't know, they're just more efficient with the aircraft. Barrage. We all know that barrage costs so much from artillery, but it's still something you need to use. And because I want to use that barrage to get some DGs on defending units before we attack, that's another one of those things that makes you focus where you're going to attack. Now, supply and attacking and barraging has not been too severe yet. But as you can see, with all the reinforcements that are eventually going to drift onto this game, that it might become a little more important. Plus, later in the game, when the 8th Army shows up, chasing Dak from down in the south down there, the Allies will start getting 3 supply points a turn automatically down there in that entry area. So We'll see how that changes things and how it changes the Axis defense. Because right now, this is I'm 6 turns in. And of course, 6 turns in, I've just hit December, and sure enough, the first weather roll was mud. So everything's going to come to a grinding halt as far as movement and attacking and stuff goes. And so if the game were to stop at this point right here, obviously the Axis powers would win. They have not lost any ground. The only movement of ground they have had has been right here where this unit, this armored unit, was driven out of this village. But now he's sitting on this hill back here, and they haven't moved from there. No gains here for the Allies. There is a hole here now, but there are Axis units headed down here. Probably get into this mountain hex here. Maybe get something here to slow these guys down. Armor doesn't do well against units that are in mountainous terrain. Matter of fact, they're penalized by I think 1/3. So, and of course, the things that the Axis have to protect are these 2 cities over here, Bizerte and Tunis. That's your major ports, and those are just where you give one of those up, you give those up, and it's an automatic victory for the Allies. So you're looking at Tunisia II. I'm really getting after this, and if you would think by going through the rules, reading every phase of the Secrets Player Time played, that it would be slow, but it's not, because now what's happening to me is some of the subtle rules that most of us might miss sometimes. There's always going to be 1 or 2 that this guy might miss, and 2 different ones that this other guy might miss. Another player might miss, but they're starting to sink in now, and I'm starting to catch myself when I go to do something. Oh, wait a minute, this rule says you can't do that, or this rule says, oh, why don't you try this? Like I still haven't mastered this use of the airfield thing yet. They're all deployed. I don't have any more airfields that I can deploy. But I got to learn how you can just pick those up off the map and move them. I need to understand that rule. Haven't needed to yet because I'm not even sure. I mean, you're going to have 1 unit at the airfield. You can build those into level 1 airfields at a cost, but there's not a ton of supply in this game right now to be able to, not if you want to make, because to me it just seemed like the Allies needed to attack right off the bat. Before anymore, because the Axis got a nice little mass of units over the last turn or 2, I think, and that's sort of going to stabilize this. I haven't built any defensive positions. What do we call these darn things? These caterpillar-looking things. Haven't built any of those yet. There's some that are on the map down there in the south that are permanently on the map that can't be destroyed. Haven't really had a reason to yet. With all the mountains up here, I don't need to, but I got a feeling that when 8th Army comes on in the south, the Germans are going to need some somewhere. Trying to hold all these approaches over that way to the coast for the Axis. The Americans now are trying to move around that right side down there a little bit. And I'm also learning about attacking, not necessarily having to be in stacks, because if you get an armored or a mech unit attacking something in the open, they're going to be doubled. Plus, you reduce density against barrages and fighter and aircraft barrages. So, and that's one of the things I picked up from watching Michael Spearling play. So I'm trying to sort of, get them stacked when I need numbers on the attack, and I don't really have a threat of reactionary barrage from aircraft, and trying to get as much as I can in there. But you know what? I've noticed at the core of a lot of the MMP games is the DG, the disorganizing. And because you knock a unit down to half of its strength before you ground attack it, well, hey, you're going to be in better business. But that's also, hopefully he doesn't reactionary fire at you and DG you and cut you down, okay? But it's not like when you move into attack that you have to, if you decide not to, because you got to burn supply to do it anyhow. Also remembering to account for supply usage on the defense. You don't have to, but you're going to half yourself if you don't. And if you're already DG'd, now you're down to a quarter strength. Or you can burn the internal stocks is another thing I need to master. Have not had to use that yet. I'm sure at one point or another I will. Right now there's enough supply to do that. So OCS, all right, here it comes. Here comes my big statement. Some of y'all heard it the other night. Y'all know how much I love EFS. Well, I think OCS has overtaken EFS. Still love EFS, don't get me wrong. I'm going to be playing more of that. But I think this system here is overtaking that. So, all right. So we're 6 turns in with Tunisia II, and it's my intention to play this thing all the way out. And so far, it's nothing massive going on. Trying to scratch my head to figure out where to attack, where to defend, where to place aircraft, where to drop supply. It's fun. I think that's one of the best parts about it. Tunisia II OCS. Let's get this thing posted so y'all can see what's going on. Talk to you soon.